Hey, Joe Martin here. You've seen our commercials over the years, and you may be wondering, what's in it for me? Well, ITI Technical College has been selected by Forbes magazine as a top 32-year college. But even more than that, the reason we do this is you. Our tagline is, for a better life, and we mean that, for you to be able to have the life you've always dreamed about, to do the things for your family you've always dreamed about. And it can begin here, where we are dedicated to your success, because here at ITI, the reason we do it is you.
This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag, and I'm Lee Feinswag. We're in our 24th year, if you count Sports Monday and Sports 225, and the only way that could happen is, well, it's my show.
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, look at the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. And now, me.
Well, the thoroughly hydrated Glenn Guilbeau joins me tonight for Sports 225.
Hello.
Yeah, well, thanks for Glenn Guilbeau is a sports writer who covers LSU, the Saints when they're good, the SEC for the Gannett News Service, among other things. Yeah, you only do the Saints when they're a good story.
They were good Monday night. It was awesome.
It's funny with Drew Brees how interesting almosts and what could have beens in his career ended up putting him in the ultimate place. Like, could you imagine how history had been changed when Nick Saban was at the Miami Dolphins and he declined on Brees when he could have had him?
Yeah, he wasn't the only coach that did that, but he was the closest one that could have had him. But, he was a health risk. And, the Saints had their doubts when they took him because of his shoulder, arm-related surgery he had by the great Dr. Andrews in Birmingham. I talked to Andrews about that surgery a couple of years ago for an alum piece for Tiger Rag, and it was really a complicated surgery. But yeah, that could have changed everything. Les Miles might still be the coach with 2 or 3 national championships, and Saban would be with the Dolphins with a Super Bowl maybe. So it really could have changed everything.
Right, because you never know what might have happened had he stayed in Miami. What's it called, the butterfly effect, where things happen and the way people.
But he also didn't think much of Brees. And a lot of people didn't at that time. He wanted Dante Culpepper, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah.
And that Saban made a lot of bad personnel decisions when he was with the Dolphins, and that was one of them. But and I remember the first time seeing Brees play in a preseason game with the Saints. He was not throwing the ball well, and I remember being worried, But he came along good, and boy, he just keeps getting better. It's amazing.
Well, and to his credit, both he obviously has to credit genetics, but I'm sure a great diet, an extremely hard work ethic.
Oh yeah.
And everything, his body's been kind to him. And what's interesting is that it doesn't make any difference as they change running backs and receivers over this long tenure he's had with the Saints. And now that when he signed the last contract, I remember thinking, well, they had to sign him, they had to do it. But it seemed like one of those things that was just ultimately going to bite him in the butt. And he just keeps getting better and better.
Well, I remember at that time I wrote that Drew ought to leave because the way the organization was in the throes of this 3, 7, and 9s, and they messed up a great team they had by Peyton being an idiot and getting the Bounty Gate penalty because that was a great team in 11, and if he'd have come back in 12. But the Peyton-Brees combination is just, it's probably the best in NFL history.
Well, that one up in New England's been pretty good.
Yeah, but that's not all. Belichick's not really an offense guy. I'm talking about coordinator quarterback.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, but they got more Super Bowls. But, Brees' stats are unbelievable. Every other quarterback has only thrown for 5,000 yards one time. He's done it 5 times. That's just unheard of. And really, he's never had a great receiver until now with Michael Thomas. He's made average receivers look real good throughout his career. And there was a span there where their offensive line wasn't too good. They've had a host of running backs. He's the constant. And all those 7 and 9s they've had without him, they'd have been 3 or 4 win seasons.
When the year after they won the Super Bowl, was in their dressing room for a freelance story, and was talking to him and said, you might be the most popular athlete on the planet right now. And I thought at the time it was probably true because of all the great publicity he got after the Super Bowl win, and then all the great things he's done for the city of New Orleans. He just becomes so recognizable. He just thought I was crazy. He just gave me that look, whatever. But
well, he's something else. He's not thought of as above Brady or Manning or really even.
I think he's better than Manning.
Well, I don't know. It depends how you look at it. Manning went to 4 Super Bowls with 4 different coaches. Brady's had a lot of solidarity with his program, and he's usually got a good defense. Peyton rarely had good defenses. Breeze has rarely had good defenses. So when you add those to the formula, I think Breeze and Manning are closer to Brady than people think.
Fun video that Peyton Manning cut.
Oh, yeah.
About that.
Yeah.
And I think everybody in the world of football respects him. Well, we've now gone through a first segment of Sports 225, doing something I never thought we would ever do, which is talk solely about the New Orleans Saints, who, as we go to break, I will maintain they should be called the Louisiana Saints. It's a crime that we give them money. It drives me crazy. And for that reason, but Drew Brees is different. He's special. So is Glenn Guilbeau. He's special. He can be read at GannettNewsService.com. If you go to the USA Today app and you get down to the Louisiana section,
USAToday.com. USAToday.com.
Yeah, well, I have the app. It's just called USA Today, whatever.
Yeah.
But true, USAToday.com. Or if you get the free ones in the hotels, those are still around. And you can follow him at LSU Beat Tweet, which is still the greatest tweet name ever. All right, enough nice stuff about him. When we get back, we're in the week that LSU plays Georgia. I want to start with a story from a book I wrote back in the early 2000s called Tales from the LSU Sidelines. If you have an unsigned copy, call me. I'll sign it for you. He's Glenn Guilbeau. I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports
225. Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the guy who enforces rules at Breck Parks. Check out my amazing presentation. Did you know? Motorized vehicles are not allowed in Breck Parks. Sales and solicitation are prohibited without permission from Breck. And my favorite rule, keep Breck Parks clean by placing all trash in trash cans. Come on, you can do this. For more information about these and other Breck rules, please visit breck.org/HDB.
All right, we're back on Sports 225, hanging out with Glenn Guilbeau of the Gannett News Service, and I'm Lee. It says it right there. LSU plays Georgia this week, so I thought I had written about this. You go like, what game was that? What can I remember? But I went back to just refresh my memory, and in the book Tales from the LSU Sidelines, a collection of stories about LSU football.
I've read it.
Yep.
Good book.
Yep. Thank you. It was just okay. It wasn't that good. Hoop Daddy was better, but it didn't sell much. Just critically acclaimed. Whatever. So, but in the DiNardo chapter, which I loved our time with Jerry DiNardo, and then I loved the time that I got to visit with him. I actually spent a whole day with him up at Indiana when I interviewed him for the book. But 1998, LSU was ranked 3rd in the country, I think, maybe 5th, 3rd or 5th, something, and has 1st and goal at home on the Georgia 5. And Al Jackson got called for illegal motion, or he jumped up off the line. LSU got penalized. And the program wasn't the same again for many years. They
lost 28-27.
Never won. Yep, that was the score, and they never.
They couldn't stop Quincy Carter. Their life depended on it.
Quincy Carter and a guy who had another good guy. There was a quarterback and a receiver, Bailey.
Chad Bailey.
No.
I think he was a DB for Georgia.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
he was the guy the Saints signed, and he wasn't any good.
Anyhow,
or he was done playing.
Anyway, they won one game the rest of the way, and that was it. And that ultimately was the beginning of the end for Jerry DiNardo.
Right, 98.
Yeah, and that was, and then
his restaurant opened that same week too,
which is now Ruffino's.
Yes,
but it was
short-lived.
called DiNardo's.
Yes,
yeah. But when LSU plays Alabama, that's a huge game, and everybody talks about it every year. It's one everybody circles on the menu, and LSU Auburn traditionally has great wacky things happen to it. But the LSU Georgia games, few and far between. I didn't realize this until this week, that this is the first time LSU's coming. I mean, Georgia's coming to LSU since 2008.
Right, 10 years. Yeah, it's crazy just
but
how the SEC
the games
is.
between them have been very exciting, very impactful, and very significant.
Oh, yeah. I think this is a great game because it's a number 2 ranked team, and it's not Alabama. And there's just Alabama's LSU's daddy. They haven't beat them in a long time, and it's just like the 70s all over again. So I think they have a chance to beat Georgia, where Bama's like better than ever. I don't think they're going to have a chance to beat them, but they can beat Georgia. And this is a huge home game because it has a novelty effect, because it's almost like a non-conference game, which they don't play in Tiger Stadium anymore. They play in Dallas and Houston. Those are coming back soon, though. Texas is going to be here. But it's like a non-conference game, and I think Tiger Stadium is going to have the edge. The Tiger Stadium that is known in mythology, I think, will be there Saturday. Most of the time it's like most other great stadiums, but every now and then it's great. Like in 2003 when they played Georgia, and 97 when they played Florida, and some other Florida games. But even though it's a day game, I think this Saturday the fans are going to be all there, 100%. It's going to be live because there's a lot of things. It's a rare opponent. LSU lost last week. They're underdog, and Georgia's number 2. So everything is there for the fans to go wild, and I think it's going to be really loud.
I actually think LSU's got an advantage in an afternoon game on a Saturday, especially when it's those CBS games, because the fans have a chance to have a little bit more energy because they haven't been drinking for those extra 4 or 5 hours leading into the night game, so they can sustain in the second half. And and this is the first hard sellout. And the Ole Miss game was nice, but the 2 games before that, it was sort of like big whoop.
Yeah, LSU's basically got one big home game a year. Alabama in the even years, Florida in the odd years. Unless because of the hurricane that got changed. But most of the other games aren't there. So this is the highest ranked team to come into Tiger Stadium in years. That's not Alabama.
That's an interesting observation. And also with those games with Georgia, there's always been a lot of stars. I don't know that this one has the number of stars. It feels like more of just really good, solid teams. Well,
Fromm's a very good quarterback for Georgia, and LSU had a lot of trouble with the Louisiana Tech quarterback. Their defense is struggling this year. It's really been the disappointment of the year. They're 10th in the SEC in total defense, which is a strange number for LSU, especially with it being Aranda's 3rd year. I think they're 9th in total defense, 9th in pass defense. They lost the Florida game. 19 points should have been enough to win that game. So if they can play better, I think LSU. I'm picking LSU to win. I picked LSU to win in August, going 8-4, because of just the novelty of this game and the way it's laid out in their schedule. And also, Georgia does not rush the passer very well. They're last in the SEC in sacks, so that's going to help LSU because their offensive line is average, banged up, But I think LSU can win a close game.
Before we get out of this segment, let's do a little bit of pumping up Glenn Guilbeau.
Oh my God!
You do some video stuff with that I see on Facebook that comes out of Lafayette, right?
Right.
Tell people
Tigers
about that.
This Week. We do that once a week show. Kevin Foote and I.
Kevin Foote.
Kevin Foote took a pie in the face that's on video on the Advertiser website because he picked Washington to beat the Saints. And he bet that he'd take a pie in the face if the Saints won. But he loves the Saints. He loves the Saints almost too much. He always is too worried.
So you've become part of slapstick now, and sports writing and slapstick.
I don't do any pie stuff, but no, we have a lot of fun with videos at the Advertiser.
Good. I didn't tell you that about the pie in the next segment.
Okay.
Yeah. Blazing Saddles. Get your pies for the great pie fight. Never mind. Glenn Guilbeau's here. I'm Lee Feinswag. We'll be right back at Sports 225.
Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the rules guy for Breck Parks. Sometimes the rules slip past us, so I put together this amazing presentation. Did you know? Golf practice is only allowed at designated golf facilities. Firearms, explosives, and weapons are not allowed on Breck property. Metal detecting is allowed in some parks, but go to Breck's website to learn more about this and other park rules. For more information, visit breck.org/HDB.
We're back on Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswag hanging out with Glenn Guilbeau. I don't know if we said in the last segment where people could actually go to watch such
TheAdvertiser.com, but it's also on ShreveportTimes.com, and they're on USAToday.com.
But don't I see it on Facebook too?
Yeah, oh yeah, I put everything I do video-wise and writing-wise on Facebook. Yeah, so you can find it on my Facebook site once a week. We have some fun with it. In fact, I'm going to Lafayette after this taping to do the next one. But we got a studio there. It's like a TV station almost.
Is it as cool as this?
We don't have that tool shed type thing going on there. but it's good.
I'm not supposed to blow the cover. See, we shoot this show, and everything that you see back there is all fake. All right, it's not there. We're in an empty green room. And it's all virtual. In fact, the first time...
In fact, we're virtual.
Well, pretty much. The first time when it was the old Sports Monday, we made the switch to virtual the first time. There were so many things that went wrong. And the next, I'll never forget, Randy Rosetta was the guest on the first one that we went virtual. So and that's one of the reasons why we don't have the Lazy Boys anymore, because you can't rock back and forth. You get lost in the green screens. So anyway, somebody said, "Hey man, that was cool. I know you went virtual. Why'd you have that table in front of you?" So it looked like there was this table right in front of us. Go, no, that was the floor.
I remember you did an NCAA tournament show one time, and you had some guys standing in the back with like LSU signs.
Oh, some of those crazy fans when Sue Gunner was on. Yeah. But that wasn't fake. That was real.
Yeah, it was funny.
Oh gosh, do you realize that we've been doing this show? The first show was September 1995. This is 24 years.
Well, I did it before that.
Yeah, and people say, how can you stay on the air that long? I own the show. You can't fire me. Glenn Guilbeau's here. He covers LSU and the SEC. You went to Florida. You came back. Yeah. And how about that? We were just talking because as we're taping this show on Wednesday, all hell's breaking loose on the Florida Gulf Coast because of the hurricane. And when you went through there the other day.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was fine. And, they knew the storm was coming, but they didn't know it was going to hit the Panhandle for sure. But yeah, I stayed in Tallahassee the night of the game, after the game, and then drove back Sunday morning after doing some work in Tallahassee, at a coffee shop to write the follows. But yeah, it's amazing, and it's the worst storm in history that's going to hit it. It's supposed to. Well, it's hit as of this show, just beginning to hit.
Right. As we were going on the air, they were talking about winds of 155 miles an hour hitting the Panhandle. Now, when Gustav came in here, which was the worst storm I personally have ever
2008.
Right. Just an absolutely vicious hurricane that hit Baton Rouge. And we had 90-95 mile an hour winds here in my neighborhood. And I remember thinking, this is horrible. I can't imagine it being worse.
Yeah.
So anyway, by the time we get on the air Friday morning, first time on CST, imagine that the storm will have blown through and we'll know more. Anyway, about that SEC, You talked about Alabama, and Alabama's by far the best team, and barring some kind of upset, will play in the SEC championship game, and LSU's just not going to figure into that picture unless, LSU would have to win out, including beating Alabama, to get into the SEC championship game, which thereby precludes you from going to the national championship picture. Who do you see coming on the other side? And this game is huge in that regard.
Well, I think it'll be Georgia versus Alabama again in the SEC championship game. The tough thing is if LSU had beat Florida and beat Georgia and won everything else but lost to Alabama, that would have been a reversal of 2011. LSU would have got into the playoffs.
Could have been one of those 4 teams without having gone to
right.
Yeah.
That could have happened, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. LSU's not quite that program yet. I mean, I think they might be on the way. They could still have a very good season this year. If they beat Georgia, they're looking at maybe 2 or 3 loss season. But Georgia could very much be a swing game. A win over Georgia, and I think they'll win it, will almost erase the Florida game, and LSU will be back on track to have a great season.
I think if LSU beats Georgia, LSU goes 10-2, loses only to Alabama. Do you see like a swing game like in that regard?
Well, I think A&M is going to be a tough game at A&M. I think that's a possible loss. But if they get by Georgia, I mean, I think they could beat Mississippi State the next week. You say they lose, you know, there's a chance they could have a 2-loss season. Yeah, 2 or 3. If they beat Georgia, it's going to be a 2 or 3-loss season. If they lose to Georgia, they're looking at a 3 or 4-loss season.
And you picked them for 8-4.
I picked them for 8-4 in August. Yeah, with a win over Georgia, lost to Auburn and Florida, and Alabama, and I think A&M. But you know, now the Auburn win doesn't look as good because Auburn has been falling. You know, but you know, it's still early.
Yeah, I mean, well, halfway point.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
but there's still a lot could happen. I mean, Mississippi State, you know, they beat Auburn. They could be a good team.
Injuries and who you play when and where factor in. That's why you gotta go.
And LSU's missing a really good lineman in Garrett Brumfield this week. He should be back from Mississippi State.
We got time for one last quick segment. And we're taping this at a perfect time where your beloved Astros actually have some break time. So what you say will stay relevant.
Okay, cool.
He's Glenn Guilbeau. I'm Lee Feinswag, and it's Sports 225.
Well, well. Looks like someone forgot all neighborhood Breck Parks close at dark.
You want another?
I think they'll pass. Amplified music and sound is prohibited without permission from Breck. No alcoholic beverages on Breck property. Smoking of tobacco products is not allowed. Use of fire is prohibited except in grills. Gotta remember, Breck wants you to have fun, but in the right way. For more info, go to breck.org/HDB.
Coming down the home stretch of another Sports 225 with not a lot of time left. Go to sports225.com to get all the show listings of when we're on CST, when we're on Your View, which is Cox 4, and to see all the archived old shows. And Glenn Guilbeau has been a frequent guest, so you can go to our Sports 225 TV YouTube channel and see Glenn anytime you want. Isn't that a scary thought? Finish up with the Astros. I know you're a lifelong suffering Astros fan.
Not suffering lately.
Well, finally redeemed last year with a World Series win, and now into the National League, American League
Championship Series.
It still drives me crazy that they're in the American League and that the Brewers, who will be playing the Dodgers in the National League.
Right, former American League team.
Exactly. But
that's crazy. Yeah, that'd be a cool World Series, Astros, Brewers. The old, right in the center of the country, 2 teams.
It would get the worst television ratings ever.
Well, you know,
the networks are, I'm sure, dying and hoping it's a Red Sox-Dodgers series.
The Astros, though, I mean, they're a young team. I mean, they're just got superstars on their team. I think if they were on TV more, people might watch it more. But
if they were on TV here, don't even get me started.
Well, I got the root, man. I got the root.
Yeah, well,
but I think they'll win it again, man. It'd be awesome, because when you win that back-to-back, it legitimizes the first one. Unlike the Cubs, who won that one a couple years ago, it was a fluke.
Well, the one good thing about this Final Four of baseball is that 2 of the 3 most obnoxious fan bases are gone: the Cubs and the Yankees. The Red Sox fans are still there, and for those of you who think that the Red Sox are like this little team, they're like the Yankees are the evil empire, and they're evil empire 1A. So, thanks as always for coming on. Always great to visit. Follow him at LSU Beat Tweet. Read his stuff at Gannett News Service.
USAtoday.com.
USAtoday.com. Or just pick up the Daily Advertiser for how much do they cost now?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, the old paper version.
I think it's $1.
All right.
There you go.
Thanks to Glenn Guilbeau. Thanks to John Williams for directing. And thanks for watching. I'm Lee Feinswag, and this has been Sports 225.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry. See the mowers marching, prizes fill the sky.